Shalom and good afternoon. Greetings from Jerusalem, Jane. Wow, just as I started this video now, we have more red alerts for rocket attacks coming into Israel. We have had that on and off now since October 7. As a matter of fact, that's not correct. We have had that on and off the entire 10 years I've been living here in Israel. We have had that since Hamas brutally took over the Gaza Strip and turned that beautiful piece of land that Israel was forced to give up, beautiful agricultural land out to the sea, greenhouses, Israeli technology, all of that was left for the Arabs to go in and have a beautiful, wonderful place to live. They trashed all of it. Hamas gained power, and they turned that beautiful piece of land into a terrorist nest where they have been terrorizing the Jewish state for nearly 20 years, firing rockets whenever they wanted to. This morning I had an appointment, and as I'm in my bedroom getting ready, I can all of a sudden hear someone is singing. I can hear there's like a children's song is playing, and then I can hear there's someone singing along. So I go into my living room, and when you go out of my front door, you don't go into a hallway, you go out to a little courtyard. And I looked out the window, and there's a group of toddlers, probably 7, 8 kids with 2 grown-ups, like is it called a daycare center or whatever, when they're so small. And these kids are just everywhere. Some of them are barely crawling. Some of them are tumbling around, like you can see they have just learned to walk. And this children's song is playing, and one of the adults is singing, and the children is tapping, and some of them is running around, and I felt this warmth deep into my soul, like a shiver down my back, but just this warmth in the midst of the horrors that we are facing. I was watching this little group of children for that brief moment, just running around and singing and playing and having fun. And then I turned away from my window and I looked to my TV that's on every second I'm awake. And from the innocence of the children playing, I was once again sucked into the brutal reality of Israel being at war. Every day, there are new testimonies. I just want to say, if you can hear children, you're right. There are children out there playing again, actually on both sides of my building right now. But every day, there are more testimonies from people on Israeli TV telling their story about that horrible day where Israel was brutally attacked with 3,000 terrorists who brought in thousands of weapons, automatic weapons, pistols, grenades, hand grenades, thousands of weapons they brought in here to murder and massacre as many innocent civilians. More stories are coming out every day of people who survived, who is giving their personal testimony of how they barely survived. More stories are coming out of people telling about how their loved one was murdered, how they didn't make it, and stories again coming out of people who is saying, someone is saying, we know for facts that our loved one is in Gaza, and then there are people saying, well, my loved one is still missing because they haven't been notified yet from the army. Where is your loved one? And that's because they are still not done 1 month later identifying bodies, because some of them was just too mutilated, and people were burned alive. They literally just have a pile of ashes. They can't identify them. They're bringing in dentists and archaeologists, I can't say that word in English, to literally identify children by teeth. You can't imagine the horror. So as I'm standing looking at these children this morning, and I can hear children running here in safety in Jerusalem, I can't help but thinking about, there are more than 30 children being held hostage right now in the Gaza Strip. They are sitting in these bunkers far below the ground, being held hostage by these evil terrorists who just mutilated and desecrated, decapitated and raped and burned 1,400 people alive. It's just, it's a very, 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 very difficult reality. This is a nation that's traumatized. This is a nation where there's not one family that's not affected, that didn't know someone, who was murdered, a family member, a close friend, or kidnapped. This whole nation is impacted. It's unbelievable. And now, we have hundreds and thousands of soldiers, regular soldiers, who are stationed in the north, in the south, in Judea and Samaria. And then there is the reserve. They called up hundreds of thousands of soldiers in the reserve. And these are people who is out having regular jobs. These are people who lost someone, but they are now in war. They are not home with their family, mourning the lost one who was murdered. They are now out on the battlefields for Israel. Tourist industry is closed. Israel is closed. There's no tourists. People are losing their jobs. Hotels are shutting down. Restaurants is shutting down. Foreign workers are gone. There is no one to harvest the fields. So many Israelis is also actually flocking down to harvest the fields, the crops, in the big cow farms. They're milking the cows. So this is a nation that is impacted in every single way you can possibly imagine, without the hurt, the pain, the trauma, the devastation, the death, still having funerals in this country. But oh, how quickly mainstream media, foreign journalists, and governments around the world are forgetting the atrocities, the war crimes, the crimes against humanity that was committed towards this Jewish nation. And now people are focusing on the casualties inside the Gaza Strip. Hamas has been in charge for 20 years inside Gaza. They have built 500 kilometers of tunnel network below the Gaza Strip. That's where they are hiding now. Tunnel rats, cowards like they are. And then many of their command centers are under hospitals. They are calculating this. They are doing this because they don't care about the civilian population inside the Gaza Strip. One of the Hamas leaders was interviewed on TV. He was asked, why are you building 500 kilometers of tunnels? Why are you not taking care of your own people and building shelters? And you know what he said? We are building these tunnels so we can go down and we can be safe and protect ourselves. The civilians, not our problem. They are refugees. Tell the United Nations. So again, flat out admit, we are building tunnels for our sake to protect ourselves. The civilians, we could care less. The spokesperson for the Israeli military was just on TV, and Israel has already proved once that the big hospital inside the Gaza Strip, that is where most of the Hamas leaders are hiding. That's where they have their command centers. But Israel today produced evidence that 2 more hospitals in the Gaza Strip, that's where Hamas is hiding. One of the hospitals was actually built on top of where Hamas already is. And they are doing this full well aware that when they start firing rockets, and they have launching pads of rockets close to hospitals. Today, Israel showed proof. They found a tunnel and launching pads close to an amusement park, to a children's playground. And Hamas is strategically doing that, committing double war crimes because they're shooting from populated areas inside Gaza, and then they're firing in to murder Israeli civilians. But they could care less, and they are doing this because they know Israel don't have a choice but to bomb and take out these targets, and then there will be the innocent civilians, and then the world will react, and the governments will react, and the mainstream media will react. Exactly what we are seeing now. Exactly what we are seeing now. You have to remember, for many of you, this might be new, but Hamas has been shooting rockets into Israel for years and years and years and years. Israel knows everything that's going inside the Gaza Strip. They know who they are. They know where many of them are hiding. They have the best intelligence agencies, and many of the despicable, evil ISIS, Nazi, Hamas terrorists who was captured they're being interrogated, and they're giving up valuable information of where these terrorists are hiding, where are their weapons, where are their rockets, and where are their command centers. So today, to the foreign media, the spokesperson of the Israeli military, he gave gave solid proof, saying 2 more hospitals, this is where they're hiding, this is where they have rocket launch pads, and showing videos of how they're shooting at the Israeli military from inside the hospital. They even recorded phone conversations between these Hamas terrorists and people in the hospital. There's no lack of fuel in Gaza. There's no lack of electricity in Gaza. They have more than enough. Hamas has all the fuel. They're stealing it from the people, but they have enough fuel. So then every day there's an announcement saying, in 2 hours we're out of electricity, in 2 hours we're out of fuel. And then 3 hours later, photos and videos are coming out from that hospital, and they have all the electricities that they need. Every day when there is coming out a casualty number of people killed inside Gaza, who is the health ministry in Gaza? Hamas. Every single information you're getting out from them, it's from Hamas. The same people who just brutally attacked Israel and massacred 1,400 people. The people who was out saying Israel fired at a hospital when in fact it was one of their rockets that misfired and they killed their own people. So you cannot trust these terrorists for 1 second. They have proved it over and over again. Israel is doing the best they can to avoid civilian casualties. They always have, they always will. They are texting people, they are calling people, they are sending out flyers, and they are saying evacuate. Hamas has launching pads, weapon storage facilities, commando centers near populated areas. We don't have a choice but to go and neutralize these terrorists. We don't want to kill you. We don't want to harm you. Evacuate. The spokesperson also said today, Israel, the military, is not at war with the civilians inside Gaza. We are at war with Hamas. But yes, we are at war, and Israel needs to do what they need to do. The death casualties amongst the soldiers, I think, is 30 now. Again, today a name was released of a young soldier who was killed inside the Gaza Strip defending the Jewish nation. So while the whole world is screaming about the innocent civilians in Gaza, let me remind you that they video filmed when they attacked us on October 7, and many civilians in plain clothes breached into Israel. They looted the houses, they stole things, and some of them was part of the kidnapping of Israeli civilians, including an 85-year-old grandmother who was kidnapped on a motorcycle, and the 2 civilians who took her, they were killed today inside the Gaza Strip. And let's not forget, every day more than 1,000 Palestinian Arabs from inside the Gaza Strip, they were working inside Israel. They had work permits to come into Israel. And what did many of them do? They collected information. What's the layout of the kibbutzes? Who is living where in the kibbutzes? Who have a dog? Who is the leader? Where are the police? And they brought all of that information back to Hamas, so they for a year could plan this attack. So when they came in, they have sketches, they had layout of who's living where, who has the dogs, where is the weapons. How did they get that from the innocent civilians living inside Gaza that Israel has allowed to go into Israel to work, to get a better wages and bring back? So just take a little bit of a step back when we are hearing all things about the innocent civilian Gaza. There's a lot of innocent civilians, but there is also a lot of civilians inside Gaza who is supporting Hamas, who was cheering on when rockets were flying into Israel, who was attacking the Israelis who was on displays inside the Gaza Strip. They looted in Israel. They gave value information to Hamas so they could attack Israel on that fatal Black Saturday. So we are still not done identifying people. We're still not done burying people here in Israel. This whole nation is affected. So for such a time as this, please share out this video for all of these information to get out there. And I know I'm sitting here, I'm looking tired, but listen, for all of you who care about me, I love you. I value your support for me, your prayers for me. It's hard and I'm hurting too. I'm traumatized too, but I'm doing the best I can day by day here in Israel. Bye.